All right, hello everybody and welcome to our Support Your Small Business community with Digital Maine Library resources. I'm Stacy Niblo, your Gale trainer. I'm glad to be with you virtually this morning to take a look at what you can do with a few of your resources from Digital Maine Library. As we go through, feel free to share in the chat and ask questions, give feedback, let me know if there's something you want to see. I really like an interactive session. Oh, and Beth, thank you. Good morning. I'm going to go ahead and make you a panelist so that you can participate in both the chat and the Q&A with everybody. I think right now as an attendee, you were only able to send messages to me. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. So Beth, we have Beth Christ from the State Library with us. So Beth, do feel free to jump in at any time. Thanks, Beth. So let me go ahead and give you our agenda, which is fairly brief. I like to keep it straight and to the point, but also this way you're able to, kind of let you guide me as to what you really want to see. So just starting out here with our welcome, of course, setting the stage. And the two resources we're going to look at specifically are Gale Business Entrepreneurship and Gale Legal Forms. And we'll give you, of course, a good overview of what's available, but then also best practices for putting those resources to use in the library. And then we'll wrap up with outreach tools and support that you can take advantage of. So before we dive in, I'm sorry, Beth, I wanted to ask you, put you on the spot if you want to say good morning or introduce yourself.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for this Gale webinar. We hope that this topic and also the topic at 10 o'clock, if you might be registered for that one too, on Chilton's automotive repair, will be really high interest for your patrons this summer. So yeah, we do thank you for joining us. We are recording it. So if there's anything you want to revisit or any of your colleagues that couldn't make it this morning, you will be getting a link to that recording afterwards. And thank you to Stacy for providing the session for us today.
Happy to do it. Thanks, Beth. All right, so up first, just a quick reminder about the Gale resources that come to you through the Digital Maine Library. You have quite a few to work with, some others that might be handy this summer, books and authors to help find, summer reading. You've got lots of great stuff to help keep up with, what do they call it? Summer slide. While the kids are out of school, there's lots of great databases to keep them engaged as well. So always good resources here, though. We, again, are going to focus on just a couple in this session. And we will take a look first at Gale Business Entrepreneurship. This is a database that is all about supporting a small business. We have really kind of run the gamut between starting and operating your business all the way through maybe selling it if that's something someone decides to do. It covers all the bases. So how are you going to plan for that business, write a business plan? How are you going to fund it, get it started, and then operate as time goes on? So it's going to hit on all of these major areas, and it's got a variety of different types of resources to help support you. Sample business plans, which are some of the most popular bits of content in the resource, but then also current periodicals, industry journals, things like that to keep up with what's happening, both in entrepreneurship, but just in a variety of small business industries as well. And then encyclopedia type tomes, good places to get started to learn about something maybe you're not familiar with, like human resources or something like that. So lots of good stuff here. And then to help supplement as well, you also have Gale Legal Forms, which is a great resource both for folks personally, but also professionally. There's a lot of great content here for someone who owns and operates a business or is getting one started. You have a variety of customizable legal forms. Some are specific to Maine, others are more national. We recently added, and continue to add forms available in Spanish. But it's a great resource to kind of save a little money, certainly on legal fees, but also take advantage of some content that's already put together for you. No need to recreate the wheel, just kind of fill in the blanks for what you need. And it's going to run the gamut from things like contracts, as you would expect, but then also just general sample letters and forms and things like that that can take advantage of as well. So to give you a little idea, before we kind of dive in and look more specifically, I've got a little use case for how you might use these two together. So let's say we've got a patron who wants to start their own contracting business. And if we start out in Gale Business Entrepreneurship, we have just a quick search on contracting finds a sample business plan. And these are business plans from the real world. We've changed the name and the address of the business, but other than that, this is a successful business plan. Someone went out and created this and then started their own business. So you've got something to model a business plan after if you're writing one, but even if you're not, it kind of gives you a lot of the ins and outs as what it might take to start this type of business and things you want to, learn about before you do. There's also lots of recent articles, things about innovations in the industry and different opportunities. So the current periodicals really help keep folks up to date on things that are happening in their industries. And of course, there's lots of other content. These are just a couple pieces that I chose to pull out, and we're going to get in there and explore. But this kind of gives you an idea of what this could do. Leah's got a question. Are these examples are available on Gale Legal Forms? The examples on screen right now come from Gale Business Entrepreneurship, but the next screen is actually going to share an example from Gale Legal Forms. Advance the slide there. So a search in Gale Legal Forms on home construction. We've got lots of specific types of contracts for different types of work. So as a contractor, I'm going to have contracts with the folks that I'm working with to build a home or a building, office building, whatever it may be. You can find lots of different contracts in the resource to kind of get that going. And these are all customizable, so I can change them to suit my needs, but I've got something to work from, right? I don't have a blank piece of paper in front of me. I can work from these. We've also got, along with all of the actual legal forms that are in this resource, there are lots of other sources as well. Guides and handbooks are something that the resource contains. So something to kind of walk you through the legal issues and things that may come up, as an entrepreneur. Or again, this is of course a great resource for personal use as well. You can see some other topics there that could be useful. We're going to, again, get in there and look around, but that's one of my favorite things about legal forms is all the support that's there. I remember being at the reference desk myself and people coming in looking for basically legal advice. And, of course, that was not my area of expertise. So having something like this to rely on is a really useful place where this is written for people like me who are not lawyers, but, do deal with legal issues. So certainly an entrepreneur can take advantage of a lot of content here. So we're going to get into these two resources and share some examples. Again, feel free to use the chat and the Q&A if there's anything you're looking for specifically. And I'm happy to guide us there. So here on Digital Maine Library, you've got a great way to access all of the resources. Some libraries put these links on their own websites. Some choose to use this page. However you get into the resources is great. If you do come to the main portal here, though, we can select subject business, and I love the way the resources then adjust and give us the business databases. I'm going to jump into entrepreneurship here. So the full name is Gale Business Entrepreneurship, but it's a little tedious to say Gale all the time because it's in all of our database titles. So we've got it here. Now, because I'm not in Maine, actually, I'm coming to you from Western New York. I'm actually not able to click on the link and get in like you can when you're in Maine. You've got those great geo-authenticated links. So I've done just a little bit of magic behind the scenes here to get into the resource. And actually, let me make this a little bigger for your end of the webinar. So the homepage for most of our databases is really about helping you understand what you found, because often you're leading your patrons here, but sometimes they're finding it on their own, right? So we want them to kind of get an idea of what this resource is. So we do always offer a search right away so you can jump right in. But if we scroll down a little bit, there's usually a carousel of topics you can pick from here, and could be something intriguing to, spark someone's curiosity to dive into, say, financing your business. But what I really want to highlight here on the homepage are these 4 categories where we've created some dedicated pages around popular topics in this resource. So Planning for your business. We can link out and do some research on marketing, do some research on budgeting, business plans. Funding, how are we going to fund this business we want to start, right? So there are different paths to that: self-funding, loans and grants, angel investors. Each of these are going to provide, you can see again, we've got some start and manage areas. As you select these, for example, if we go into self-funding, you get this dedicated page, and it always starts with a good overview. So if you think about when you're at the reference desk and you maybe start with a reference title, some ready reference you can pull right off the shelf. This is what this article is going to be, kind of an overview of what self-funding is, very simple to kind of get the idea of it. And then as you scroll down, you'll find all of the other resources that are available. So we've got a few business plans here that are highlighted that use self-funding, so you can kind of read about how they did it. Recommended resources for different ways to self-fund, crowdfunding, bootstrapping, and so on. And then directory resources here, finding, some other sources to go to, kind of see alsos. Magazines and journals, again, these are going to be those industry-specific journals aimed at entrepreneurs as well, things like that. News articles, newsletters, news wires, newspapers, and we've got some multimedia, some recommended websites, but it gives you a good jumping off point to read about self-funding. So these are what we call topic pages. You see them in a lot of the Gale resources, but the homepage, I think, is a good way for folks to kind of get started with their research, picking these tools, because we don't know what we don't know, right? And this kind of jump into overviews is a good way to get started. But of course, someone might have exactly what they have in mind. They know what they want to research, and let's go ahead and try that. So we're seeing, certainly during the pandemic, we've seen a real jump in food delivery, right? In different ways, groceries and meals and things like that. Delivery only restaurants have become kind of a thing. You see a lot of them, when you go into different apps and stuff like that. So it's a, interesting way to operate. You can have, a different type of kitchen. You don't have to pay for the overhead of having space, things like that. So it's kind of an easy way, not easy starting a business, but an interesting way to kind of enter into that industry, right? So if we do a search, delivery only restaurants. One of the things I like about a database that's targeted to a subject area is you can do very simple searches and get a lot of interesting results back. You can do really simple ones. We're going to try a few more, but the first thing we always start with are business plans. This is, again, content from the real world. Business Plans Handbook is a title we publish at Gale, and we put out a few volumes every year. You have the entire print run in this collection. And again, what we do is look for successful businesses and ask to reprint their business plan. So we just change the names and addresses, but this is something someone used. And along with giving a model for if your own business plan, you're seeing what it takes to start this business. Again, kind of going back to you don't know what you don't know. This is going to help fill that in. So talking about different funding, maybe how you're going to hire, how you're going to market, how you should investigate and see what your competition is, that type of thing. You get this really a story of the business. So it's always, of course, useful to have one that's similar to your own type of business, but there are a lot here, and I'm going to show you a search later where you can actually browse all of them. So you can look at, say, more recent ones and see what are maybe some new things people are including in business plans, but they tend to follow a similar format. If you look over to the right, there's an article contents, so we can kind of jump around within it. So if I'm specifically interested in, finance, I can jump right to the financial analysis and move to that part. So a lot of these also will have visuals, so it gives you an idea of maybe something you would want to use as well. But this is, a good place to get started as I'm starting to, start my business. And we've got a lot of different ways you can kind of pull this content out. So if I'm starting my business with a partner, I want to share this with them. You'll see in the upper right-hand corner, let me just use my annotate tool. We've got a few different ways to get that to them. Ways you can share out content. These are also handy if you're doing, say, chat reference or reference over the phone and you want to get this content to your patron. We've always, of course, are going to have a print option, a nice clean print. But again, if we're working kind of electronically, you can always use send to. An email, of course, is always available, but really one of the more popular ways to kind of get content into people's hands from these resources now is to use the cloud sharing tools. So I can actually send this to Google Drive, and you just sign in if you're not already signed into your Google account. Apologies, folks, I should have taken this step here. Use my little password helper here before we got started, but just takes a minute, and immediately I get the notification it was sent to my Google Drive. And what's great about this is this now lives in Google Drive. It's my document to do with as I like. There's no digital rights management here. It just is in my Google Drive until I need it or want to use it. And it goes to a folder named after whatever database you're using, Gale Business Entrepreneurship. And there it is. And I have all the benefits of Google Drive, or of course, if I use Microsoft OneDrive. So I can share this with my partner. I can go up and use their share tool. I can mark up this document using their comment feature, the highlight feature, make notes. It's my document now, and I can get it into the hands of my partner really easily, and we can work on it together and again, comment and make notes as needed. So really handy way to share content with patrons, but also for them to then work with others on it. We're going to see that for every article. Very handy. Now, our results here, if we kind of scroll down a bit, we've got some magazines and journals, some audio. You can see up at the top here, it gives you a quick summary. But I do want to share, we want to keep an eye on the clock, so I want to try some other searches here to share some other content. But those business plans are really, really, really valuable. So let me pop back to the homepage. I do want to quickly show you that search so you can locate all of them. So under the browse topics section here on the homepage and topics, if we go into business plans, it's going to take us to a portal for business plans. So not only am I going to get actually all of the business plans that are in the database, there are over 1,100. I'm also going to get all of this other content around business plans. So guides for writing them, what should be in them. And even that's one of the other things I like the periodicals for. You can kind of read about maybe what's happening with business plans, innovative ideas, things like that. So you get all of this support for writing a business plan as well. And what I like to do is if I go into all of the business plans, look at all 1,148 of them, they sort by newest. So these are most recent ones we've included in our volumes. So I can jump in and kind of see if there's something here that maybe wasn't happening. Certainly like things like marketing are very different, right, than from 15 years ago. So looking at a more recent plan is a great way to get ideas for your own as well. So great content there. But this database is not only about business plans. So I want to find some of the other content here. So just in general, we want to do a little research into the restaurant industry. Go ahead and take advantage of the help there, or the search assist there. Again, great business plans, but let's go ahead and kind of scroll down a bit. The recommended resources, again, are going to be those reference type resources. So they're good overviews into different topics and industries and things happening in industries. The directories up next are kind of see alsos, as I mentioned before. So I can find consultants, I can find organizations to join, like associations, places where I can go and network and maybe advertise and things like that. So lots of great directory resources. Again, the periodicals are really valuable. And see, certainly on a search like restaurants, we've got over 100,000 hits. If you jump into an entry over on the right, you'll see you can filter these results down. So if I want to get a little more specific with this, we've got something like subject. So maybe I can zero in these results. This is kind of a keyword hit right now. So I could choose restaurant industry or restaurants, fast food restaurants, food services, and so on to kind of zero in. So this will, still bring back a lot of results in this case, big industry, but kind of zeroes in and lets you be a bit more specific. You can also choose things like publication date, publication title. I especially like this. We've got a lot of, again, industry specific publications here. So this is a great way to kind of zero in on those as well. Document type is a good one too. You can zero in on things like cover stories, industry overview, that type of thing. that, maybe bypass the short little articles that are maybe just like quick news briefs, things like that. So document types are really handy limiter as well. Now, not only can you, find a lot of content here around your industry, you can investigate things you might be doing in your business, right? Social media marketing. Again, we've got some business plans where probably they did some social media marketing planning in there, but you've got, again, a lot of resources around these topics. Things like, again, examples, hiring and firing. So once you're up and operating, or actually even before, you've got to maybe hire some people, but you've got overviews for those types of things as well. I really love the reference content here. It's those good overview type articles. And then again, can follow up with things like the periodicals. So putting in searches on industries, topics are really going to, work well for you here. So let me just double check my list, see what else I wanted to show you here. Oh, we hadn't taken a look at advanced search, which just a click away, it's always linked right there next to the main search bar, unless of course we're sitting on advanced search, which we are. But this just lets you be the boss of your search. So you choose the field you want to search in the database. When we use the search up top in the main search bar, that's a kind of, we call that our basic search. It's kind of a keyword search, but it's got an algorithm behind it to try and help you out a little. But it's also trying to bring back, hits. So it will, that algorithm does some things to push results to you. Here, though, you can kind of choose. So if I know I want something to be a subject heading, or I want something to be in the title of the article, I've got those fields here to search. I can also zero in on particular publications, things like that. And then down below, you can place all your limits here too. So things like date, document type, again, publication title, and just zero in when you're after something specific. So let's say I want to find articles about marketing, but specifically ones that mention Instagram. Maybe that's where I think I'm going to do my most social media work. So one of the tricks here is if you select the field you want to search in first and then start typing, what it does is only recommend search terms that that are subject headings, the only things that will be found, so that you know that this is the correct subject heading. So let's choose marketing. Now, again, I want to be sure that this entry is going to enter, these results are going to mention Instagram. So subject might be a little too narrow. The whole article would really have to heavily have something to do with Instagram. If I just want to be sure it's going to be mentioned, I could do something like keyword, which is going to, and you'll notice as you select these fields to the right, it tells you where it searches. Keyword searches in kind of the hot spots of every article. Citation, abstract, subject headings, things like that. But entire document is going to read every word out of every single article. It's the biggest search you can do, most thorough search you can do. And let's say, since we're talking about social media, it changes so fast. Maybe we only want articles published after, we'll go back a few years, go back to say January 1st, back to say 2020. All right, so I can place all these limits on the search as well and really get specific. And there we go. Okay. Now, let's say I've done this for a patron, maybe over chat reference, maybe over the phone. I want to get these results to them. There is no way to send kind of all of this to Google Drive or in an email or anything, but what you can do instead is take advantage of our Get Link tool here in the upper right-hand corner. This is going to give me a persistent URL or PURL that I could paste into our chat reference. I could send in an email, or, maybe I'm not working with a specific patron. Maybe I'm putting together a web page or a LibGuide or something, and I want to put these results to it. This URL can go wherever a URL would normally go. So, a website, again, into an email, into a Word document, maybe I'm compiling to send to a patron, whatever it may be. It's just a URL. And what's neat about it here is it will perform that search every time you click on it, but it will have all those limits that you placed on it. It performs that search again and again. So Get Link is a really great way to drive people into the resources. And we've got it here as a search result, but say there was one particular article I wanted to send to them. Get Link is there too. So I could send, oh, this is a very brief one. But here, I think it's the chapter heading of one of the books. But anyway, the URL here is going to be persistent too. I could share that with them. Of course, I've also got the option to email the article and send a Google Drive, all of that too. But GetLink is a really powerful tool in these resources. Will the patron have to be signed in to Gale to access the link? Usually not. With GetLink, we do a little magic and typically drop people right into the resource. You also have the other advantage of the geo-authentication in Maine. So usually they do not have to. However, technology isn't always as perfect as we would like it to be. So they might be prompted to put in a library card number or password or something like that. We have these kind of backup authentication methods. So you might want to have them be prepared for that, but usually it does not. We drop you into the search result, the article. And then if they try to go further, if they try to perform their own searches or something, they might be prompted to authenticate, but usually they land right where you want them with just one click. Great questions, thanks. All right, so that's what I wanted to share with Gale Business Entrepreneurship. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at Gale legal forms. So let me just double check on my list. Okay, we're in good shape. All right, so I'm gonna quickly again, jump into the resource. You, of course, can find it right on the homepage for Digital Maine Library as well. Now, with your Gale legal forms, you have a collection of state-specific forms for Maine, but then also a big collection of kind of national forms. And these are real legal forms used that attorneys have used. We partner with a company called US Legal Forms to provide this to libraries. They sell it commercially, like out on the web. I could just go to their website and pay for a subscription to this resource. But of course, with this being available through Digital Maine Library, there's of no cost, to the end user. They can use as much as they want. But the company that produces this does work with attorneys to produce all the content that's here. So the homepage is again going to give you a search. But really, I love the browse. Here on the homepage, we give you ways into the content. The browse by main categories to me is kind of like subject headings. You kind of drill down into specific areas. You also though have some quick searches over on the left for kind of the most popular searches in the resource. You can see a lot of this content could be used personally as well. But this is really an excellent resource to kind of push out to your users in your small business communities. So I mentioned earlier, starting the delivery only restaurant, say I'm opening that with a partner. If I go right to partnerships, I get to kind of dig deeper. So what am I looking for in partnerships? Am I looking for agreements, checklists, things like this? So not everything is actually a legal form. That's one of my favorite features of the resource. If I go to checklists, it gives me things to think about as I'm putting together a partnership agreement, right? And with all of the forms, you get a description that is written for me, as a regular person, not a lawyer, to understand basically what this form is about. And then it's usually going to be available in a couple different formats: Word, rich text, PDF. But of course, with the, let's open in here, pull this over. When it's Word or rich text or even some of the PDFs, you have, of course, the ability to edit and write on this and do what you need to. You can download it. If folks are in the library, they can just put it onto a flash drive. If they're using their own device, of course, they can save this where they need it. But you've got a lot of great content here. So the checklist, the sample letters, things like that are really valuable. But also, of course, we've named them database after it, those legal forms itself. So if we pop into agreements, it's going to give me a whole list of different partnership agreements. There are 62 of them. And you can see not only are there agreements, kind of for just a general partnership, but also maybe later we're adding a silent partner to a business, an investor or something like that. Or we're getting rid of the partnership. So we've got a dissolution of partnership. All of these here to help produce what we need. So basic partnership agreement. Again, always going to have this description. Often you'll have a preview. So instead of downloading it right away, you can get eyes on it, see what it looks like, see if it's for you. But of course, you can also dive right in with searches. So again, going back to our contractor example, you can Oops. So as a contractor, maybe I'm hiring a roofer, and this is, something I'm going to need them to sign. I can come in, quick search on roofing, and let me point something out here. Apologize, I see our stop time. We will wrap up here in just a couple minutes. Oh, sorry, I want to use my little annotate tool. When you do a search, or if you come through the browse, regardless of how you come to a result like this, when you see forms that have a control number that starts with ME, that means it was specifically written for use in Maine. They will always float to the top of your results list. So even if it's maybe less relevant than a form that starts with US, which are kind of the national forms, the Maine forms will float to the top because we want, of course, that's important, right? State laws can vary. So the forms that go with Maine come to the top of your result list. Now, the control number, other than that, really doesn't mean much. It's just a way to, keep track of the forms within the database. They're not like an LCCN or something. Nobody else is going to recognize them but us and the US legal forms folks. But the main thing I wanted to talk about for them is, again, the ones that start with ME are going to be specific to Maine. And one of the things we've started to do with this resource is put together packages of forms. So Maine Roofing Contractor Package. So this is going to have a few different forms in it, at least 2, could be, I've seen ones linked, up to 10 or 15 forms in them. So I may not need all of them, but again, I love that we don't know to look for same things, we don't know what we don't know. We don't know what to search for if we don't know what we're looking for. So I find things here I hadn't maybe thought about. Oh, a job progress sheet. Yeah, that's something that'd be good to keep up. Accident report. So you've got this whole package of forms put together. Right. So the last thing I'll mention, again, just because we're tight on time, all of the other support that's here. You look over on the left here in this box that follows you throughout the resource. There's a law digest, there's a legal Q&A, there's a legal life kind of getting started type path. These probably, actually, let me open that one. I hadn't thought. Yeah, we've got some employment tools, or whoops, sorry, I didn't mean to click on the law digest. I wanted to show the legal life articles. The law digest is handy. It's great for understanding different legal issues, but you've got a few things here that would apply really great with business people, but then also some good personal info. It's a good place to get started. That kind of advice they may be looking to you for, you can redirect them to these legal life articles. So it's kind of here's what you have to do if you are going to own a business type thing. So really great legally. Really great, good, helpful extra stuff here, aside from just the legal forms. There's lots of great support. So, okay, again, sorry, folks, running a little behind here. Let me go ahead and pop back to the PowerPoint and we'll wrap up. So I mentioned before, it's of course a good idea to make sure your business communities understand that these resources are available through the library, through Digital Maine Library. We've got lots of materials to help you kind of support that need. Lots of training materials to let you know how the resources work, of course, are handy, but then also promotional materials. So we've got things like postcards, social media posts, blog posts kind of ready to go. As you're doing outreach, maybe meeting with your Chamber of Commerce or things like that, check out the support.gale.com/Maine site, and I'll be sending you a follow-up email with links to this information. Take advantage of what we've already produced. A lot of it is customizable, so you can put your website or the Digital Maine Library website on it so folks know where to go to access the content. You can put your library logo. Lots of good stuff here. Again, no need to recreate the wheel. We've got a lot of good stuff ready to go that can help you promote the resources and inspire, more promotion, right? More ideas. So lots of good stuff. And then, of course, you can always feel free to reach out to your Gale team. I'm your trainer, happy to answer questions, give feedback to our product managers. They love to hear how folks are using these out in the world. We also have a team of customer success managers that can help you if maybe you decide you do want to do some promotion with your Chamber of Commerce. They can help you with ideas for what to do. They're a great group of folks. If you send an email to the address here, you get linked up with the person responsible for public libraries in Maine. So you can work with Kevin, I believe, is our CSM for all of our public libraries in Maine. to come up with some great promotion ideas, or you just want to get walked through one of the other databases, things like that. They do a lot of great one-on-one work. And of course, you can always keep up to date on our social media paths at Gale, see what's new happening with the resources. And when you leave the session today, you should be prompted to take part in our training survey. We would love to hear your thoughts. I'll also put that in my follow-up email though, so if you don't have time right now, especially because I'm running a little late, but I will wrap up with a thank you. And, keep an eye out for more sessions. We wanted to do these, we thought they'd be useful for the summer. We hope maybe to offer some more in the fall. So certainly share your ideas on that feedback form if there's anything else you'd like to learn about. But we are always happy to have feedback on what you want to see from the Gale training team. So definitely let us know. Beth, anything to add before we wrap up?
No, I was just typing in a thank you to you, Stacy, for providing this to us today. And yeah, I would say to participants, please just let us know if there's any other particular topics that would be most helpful to you, and we will get them in the queue. But do, as Stacy said, do watch for more of these coming up, particularly in the fall. So thanks for coming today, and thank you, Stacy.
Absolutely. Thanks, Beth. Thanks for joining. Glad to have you. All right, folks. Well, again, thanks so much for tuning in. Sorry we ran a little late. I always have more to say, so thanks again. Feel free to stick around if you do have questions. I'm going to keep things open and interactive here for a few minutes. But thanks again for tuning in, and have a great rest of your day. And maybe I'll see some of you at 10 o'clock as well. So thanks all.